Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest in everything cool every single day. Thank you for joining us for a new episode of EP Live. Thank you to everybody that is live in our chat room right now and is watching this stream as we make it. And thank you if you are watching this as an archive later on. You all rock. But we've got one dedication to make, and it's to Matt Swanson. He says, I don't know where I know you from, but I effing love you and your reviews and all your content. Keep it up. And then it says early G4 days, Maybe. Let's get started with your rundown. F Batman. DC and Warner Brothers are trying everything they can to make Robin cool, but they might be trying too hard. With the massive San Diego Comic-Con kicking off today, the first trailer has landed for the new DC series Titans. It stars Brenton Thwaites as a new and more badass version of Robin, who apparently isn't afraid to brutalize bad guys and drop a few F-bombs. The show will also feature other Teen Titans heroes like Starfire, Raven, and Beast Boy. If you're wondering how they're going to get away with all this violence and profanity, it's because Titans won't be airing on traditional television. It's instead being created exclusively for the new subscription streaming service DC Universe, which launches in the US this fall. Still no word if the service will be available in Canada. I'm really hoping that part of the San Diego Comic-Con announcements will be that DC Universe is coming to Canada. DC Universe is incredible. It's not just shows and animated series and movies and stuff. You're also going to be able to read comics, and it's really, really cool. So I'm psyched for this. The Titans trailer looks pretty cool. They've got some pretty great costumes and some good cinematography and some kind of cool effects. It's exciting to see Beast Boy and Starfire and Raven. I think the Hawk and Dove team up are in there as well. I like Brenton Thwaites as a choice for Robin. Sounds cool, but it really bugs me that he says F Batman in this trailer. I mean, it's really a big reveal. I guess they had to make a statement that they can be all edgy with this thing. And I will say that the Marv Wolfman and George Perez comics, when Teen Titans came back in the 80s, were very edgy for their time, but they still had the Comics Code Authority logo on them, so they didn't go into the F Batman territory. But certainly there's always been friction between Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne, and that relationship is something that is going to be fun to see on screen. But if you are saying F Batman, there needs to be a challenge back in the other direction, so I'm really hoping we get a Batman on screen, and I don't know if this is going to be interwoven with the Arrowverse or whatever, but if it is, it is time for us to have a televised Batman. It really is. We've got the Batwoman TV show. Everybody's talking about Batman. Superman's been on TV. It's time to have an awesome Batman on television in a serialized format like this. But, you know, I'll be there. I'm excited. It does feel like DC is trying to play a little catch-up with the Marvel Netflix stuff. It was a shocking moment to wake up to F Batman today, but still, it could be a lot of fun. Now, over on the big screen, we won't have to wait much longer to see the Clown Prince of Crime return to cinemas. Warner Brothers has officially announced that their new Joker solo movie will hit theaters on October 4th, 2019. The film, which was first announced earlier this year, is being written and directed by The Hangover's Todd Phillips and will star Joaquin Phoenix as a new version of the iconic DC villain. The film will exist outside of the current DC movie continuity, similar to what DC does with their Elseworlds comic imprint, so this version of the Joker will be very different than the Jared Leto version from Suicide Squad. The fact that this film has been announced and greenlit so quickly indicates that it will be a bit smaller and more gritty than bigger DC movies like Justice League. Speaking of bigger films, the next Wonder Woman movie will be hitting theaters less than a month later on November 1st, 2019. They are really fast-tracking Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker, aren't they? This is kind of crazy to me. He's going to do a great job. I think he's a fantastic actor, and he's going to leave an indelible imprint as this character. It's going to be very difficult to just have a one and done with this. You know, clearly there's some excitement to like fast track this and get it out there. So I think everybody is very stoked to see what he's going to do as the Joker. How are we just going to let that slide and then go back to a guy with all of his lines tattooed all over his face? It's going to, ha ha, I'm crazy, ha ha, bang. I mean, it's nuts what they did. And not like Jared Leto's a bad actor. I just didn't like that whole setup. But I'm very excited about this other Joker movie. Again, is Batman going to be in that one? And we're going to have a whole bunch of Batman all over the place, I think. Okay, after almost 10 years, a memorable GTA character is finally coming back out. Rockstar has revealed that the new GTA Online expansion After Hours will launch on July 24th, and as many had already expected, it will include the GTA 4 character Tony Prince, also known as Gay Tony. He hasn't been seen since the GTA 4 expansion, The Ballad of Gay Tony, was released back in 2009, where players helped him manage his nightclub, and this time around, he'll be helping you manage your nightclub. New vehicles, weapons, and music are also included in the expansion. GTA Online is still raking in millions of dollars in revenue every quarter, despite the fact that it was released almost 5 years ago. So Rockstar and their parent company Take-Two haven't shown any signs of slowing down the pace of new content like this. Their next game, Red Dead Redemption 2, arrives this October, and it's amazing that we keep talking about GTA Online content on this show, and then the next thing we say is Red Dead Redemption 2 is coming very soon, and it's just getting that gap is just getting smaller, and soon we'll have GTA Online and Red Dead Redemption 2 with its online thing, and Take-Two will have all the money. They're like gunning for Fortnite right now, I think is what's going to happen. This is another very cool expansion, and every time we talk about this game, I want to go and play it. And you know, my dilemma is I've got all the new stuff coming in. I asked on Twitter how many people are still playing GTA Online. Got a lot of good responses. A lot of people going, who still just plays that? But a lot of people exclusively play GTA Online, and it's almost kind of like what was happening with World of Warcraft, where people, that was their only thing. They just played that for years and years and years. It's kind of starting to happen, or it's been happening with Grand Theft Auto Online. Very cool idea for an expansion right there. Welcome back, Gay Tony. Another big victory has been won in the epic battle against loot boxes and microtransactions. Last year's Lord of the Rings-inspired game, Middle-earth: Shadow of War, has removed its microtransactions. The latest patch, which was released yesterday evening, completely removes the in-game market, so players no longer have the ability to buy new characters, loot boxes, or in-game currency using real-life money. Loot boxes are still a part of the mechanics, although you'll have to earn them the old-fashioned way by actually playing the game. Developer Monolith Productions first announced that they were going to do this back in April, but waited until now in order to give players who've already bought currency a chance to spend it. This follows months and months of controversy surrounding Shadow of War and how the microtransactions and loot boxes affected the progression system, with many players accusing it of being pay to win. This is incredible. Like, we are starting to see a complete reversal with some of the publishers out there. It's going to be very difficult for people to pull any shenanigans with loot boxes going forward. The amount of heat that this game got, and of course Star Wars Battlefront 2, and the attention that this controversy has received from game players all over the world, very vocal majority of people out there that are just not into this idea of not knowing what they're buying when they're spending their money in these games. I think we're going to see massive sweeping changes like this. It will always be, I think, just about customizing the look and feel of it, purely cosmetic. It's not going to be about, buying your way to victory for too much longer in games. I think it will still exist in some games. I think, there's some racing games where you'll be able to plunk down some money and you'll unlock all the best cars right away. But I feel like ultimately this is a very good thing. I am looking forward to returning back to some simpler mechanics. Not to say that, spending some money in video games for extra content or extra stuff is a bad thing. It's working in Fortnite, it's working in Overwatch, it's working in, in lots of different ways out there, and it's okay. But yes, I think some really difficult lessons have been learned, and it's ultimately going to be a very good thing. All right, you guys, that does it for the rundown. But right now it is time for us to take a look back at this day and everything cool. Welcome to This Day and Everything Cool for July 19th. On this day in 1991, the Final Fantasy series ventured onto a whole new platform and started fighting in a whole new way. Final Fantasy IV was released on the Super Famicom in Japan, making it the first entry in the series released on the new console. Thanks to the extra power of the system, the game was much bigger, with more characters and environments to explore and much better graphics and audio. As for the gameplay, it was also the first Final Fantasy game to use the active time battle system. Unlike the previous games, which used more slow-paced turn-based mechanics, the active time battle system allows players to input commands in real time, which makes the battles much more fast-paced and intense. Final Fantasy IV received critical acclaim and is widely considered one of the best games in the entire franchise, but here's where things get a little confusing. The game would find its way to North America on the Super Nintendo later that same year, although when it did, the title was changed from Final Fantasy IV to Final Fantasy II. This is because the original 2 and 3 hadn't been released in the West at that time, so Square changed the title to avoid confusing everyone. An enhanced remake of Final Fantasy IV was released on the Nintendo DS in 2007. You know, there have been so many games made in the Final Fantasy universe, we could probably make a This Day and Everything Cool about some kind of Final Fantasy factoid. But anyways, last night I had a movie date by myself. I went solo to a screening of The Equalizer 2, which is directed by Antoine Fuqua, and it stars Denzel Washington again. This is the very first sequel that Denzel has ever made, and that should tell you something, because this guy has his pick of scripts and many, filmmakers that want to work with him. He's an incredible actor. I didn't go with Johnny Millennium, so we're doing this as reviews on the run video in EP from the studio, so this is live. But I see Johnny is in our chat, so hello, Johnny. Missed you at the movie, and you missed a very good movie, my friend. The Equalizer 2 is great, and I'd heard some bad buzz about this thing. I think you don't want to see this movie if you haven't seen the first film. Basically, he plays a guy named Robert McCall, who's an ex-operative, CIA, military, very specific set of skills. He's another one in this long line of old guys that like to kick ass out there. It would be interesting to see a John Wick and Liam Neeson and Robert McCall kind of matchup out there. We could probably make some kind of Smash Brothers derivative of all these old guys fighting each other. But Robert McCall is, he's a badass, and he's got a little bit of an OCD issue. He's still grappling with a lot of grief because he's had people in his life that have passed away, and he just is a concerned citizen. And I love that in The Equalizer 2, and I don't remember if this was the case in the first movie, but he's a Lyft driver, and basically he eavesdrops on people's conversations on their telephones, and people tell him things. And every once in a while, he gets involved and helps out people that have been wronged in some fashion. And I actually like that. It's a little bit like Batman eavesdropping on people's lives, and then he goes in and cleans things up. And he does things efficiently with as little exertion as possible. He's sort of the guy that has gone through every single confrontation imaginable. He knows how his opponents are going to come at him, and he has a way to deflect somebody's strike at him, or somebody will pull a gun on him or a knife on him. He knows how to deal with all of that stuff, and the way that he does it is just so slick and so efficient. He doesn't look like he's exerting himself tremendously, but he puts everybody down quickly, and so we see a little bit of that. And actually, my favorite parts of the movie wasn't so much the grander story that was being told, and it actually is framed in a pretty cool way, where we see some CIA friendlies are getting taken out, and there's a mystery to be solved there, and there's some people that are close to Robert McCall that sort of get embroiled in all of that, and I dug that. And it culminates in a very effective sequence, which I'm not going to spoil too much. I'll just say that there's a hurricane involved, and I can see that video game makers are probably going to take sequences from chunks of this movie and recreate them in video games for many, many years, because it was very effective and very cool. But I actually enjoyed all of these little bits and pieces of Robert McCall, Denzel Washington getting involved in regular people's lives and trying to help them, and trying to keep a young artist from getting involved with some street thugs and drugs and sort of gang violence and stuff like that. I like that. I like that he rescues a woman that's been abused by a bunch of douchebag dudes that are having a party in a hotel room that are super rich, and he takes them out in a very cool way. He helps this old guy that's been trying to solve a mystery in his life for a long time, and it's all done with a light touch and a human touch. And I think that's the secret of hiring Denzel Washington, who is an expert at simmering through his moments and not saying much, and you can see in his the way that he moves and his facial sort of reactions what he's thinking and what he's feeling. But when he does deliver the monologue or the heavy messages that are in this movie, because this is a guy that still lives with virtue, even though he's had a lot of heavy stuff happen to him, and he's could have turned to the dark side in a way. He's a guy that kind of knows right from wrong, and he just tries to help people, And even if he does sort of do that through really violent means, and he doesn't hesitate to take out people that are trying to take him out, there's still a light around him, And I just think that it's humanized by this incredible actor who is still at the top of his game. He's amazing in this. Pedro Pascal is also one of my favorite rising stars. That's still, I mean, he's quite well known already from Game of Thrones and Narcos and stuff, but he is great in everything that I see him in, and he's great in this. Melissa Leo, we've seen in tons of stuff before. She's also great in this. And Bill Pullman has a very human element in here as well, and he's great to see in this movie as well. I was really captivated by The Equalizer 2. I was very happy to see it. Maybe my expectations were low, and I was expecting it to go off the rails and be a total disappointment, but I wasn't disappointed. I liked it, and I think it stands up with the first movie, which I thought was pretty cool. Again, I didn't expect too much out of that. But, it's the Denzel factor. The guy is just so damn good. I'm going to give The Equalizer 2 an 8 out of 10, and I think you should see it. But right now, I think you should see This Day and Everything Cool. Oh, Buried Treasure. We've already done This Day and Everything Cool. But right now, I think you should see our brand new Buried Treasure. One of my very favorite Sega Genesis games was Castle of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse. It was remade in 2013, and it came out on various platforms, the PlayStation Network, Xbox Live Arcade. It's backwards compatible on Xbox One, by the way. They've also released it for the Mac and PC and iOS and Android phones, and I think you can even get this on the Windows phone. So it's been kind of re-released, the remake of it, all over the place. And I think some versions will also allow you to play the old Genesis Classic, which, admittedly looks dated, but it's actually got, I don't know, mechanics are preferred in the Classic, and there's a sense of wonder that you can still have when you look back at a game that's that old, that still looks that fresh and is that fun. Now, that's not to say that the remake was bad. They kind of, they 2.5D'd it up a little bit and added a little bit more color and flash and a sort of imagined soundtrack. It was still solid. It was still fun. And I got to tell you, it's a great game to play with kids. So, whether you have one of your own or you're hanging out with your niece or nephew or whatever, I think they will be incredibly charmed by Castle of Illusion. And it's, leaves that are falling down that you can jump on and giant spiders that you're going to encounter, and you got to collect little apples. And it's just a cute and well-designed and timeless platforming treasure, and it's absolutely a little bit of a buried treasure at this point because I think people have moved on and, they're playing the other platformers that exist out there these days. But Castle of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse is one that should never be forgotten. It's a buried treasure. All right, you guys, it's fantastic to see everybody here. That's a nice mix-up between The Equalizer 2 and then we go into A Castle of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse. We thought that would be a nice back and forth right there. It's great to see everybody. Colin McDonald is here. Paul Adamson is here. Blair Farrell is here. Sam I Am 111 is here. Tyler Fisher, great to see you. And in fact, Tyler Fisher, we have your face right up here on the screen right now, my friend. This is you with your wife wearing an EPN tank top, which is so cool to see. There she is. She doesn't look too happy, Tyler, and you got to tell us what your wife's name is right there. It's like, don't take my picture, but you took it, and she looks great in the EPN tank top. And this is our friend David Stewart, who sent us this very happy picture, and he said that he has met Tommy Tellerico over the years. He's based in Florida, and I don't get down to Florida all that often. I've been a few times. I was there last year for Star Wars Celebration, but he wants to meet with me at some point, so maybe we will make that happen at, Fan Expo, or maybe he'll come to a PAX, or E3 or Comic-Con or something down the road, but it would be great to see you. I've never been to the Dragon Con. I think that's either in Atlanta or in Florida, down in the southeast area of the States. I'd like to go to that. That'd be fun. But thank you so much. It's very cool to see people wearing the shirts. I got another couple of people taking pictures of the shirts, but I don't know if their faces are in those pictures. But that's what we're going to show today. We're always happy to show people that wear the EPN brand out there. It's very, very cool. Thank you very much for your support, you guys. But right now, let's jump into a discussion with what's the name of the studio? We forget the name of the studio, but this is Underworld.
Other Side Entertainment.
Other Side Entertainment, yes, and there's lots of good people in there, lots of incredible, prestigious careers associated with Other Side, and they're working on a very big game called Underworld Ascendant. Let's take a look.
Our game, Underworld Ascendant, is a first-person RPG immersive sim that really focuses on player-authored solutions. In it, you go on missions for several factions and grow your skills and abilities. You have dozens of different skills to choose from combat, stealth, magic, and more. And we really, really push you to come up with your own way of playing. There's no character classes. It's really about how you want to play the game. Underworld Ascendant is the modern follow-up to Ultima Underworld, which was the game that kicked off the immersive sim genre 25 plus years ago. It's developed by Looking Glass, which was a company founded by our founder, Paul Neurath.
The Ultima Underworld franchise is actually still owned by EA, and Paul tells a great story. There's a long history where the rights sort of went fallow. EA decided they didn't want to do anything with the franchise for a number of years, and Paul got back in touch with them 3-ish years ago and started work with them to get the rights to do what's essentially is a spiritual successor, or it's not a true sequel since it doesn't use the Ultima Underworld brand. But we felt like there was a long history to the franchise. It had been innovative and broke some new ground, and we felt like there were fans out there that would want to see another game just like it, at least modernized and brought to modern gaming standards. So we felt like it was time to bring it back. So we're excited to do that.
I mean, the original Ultima Underworld had its own mythology within the Stygian Abyss, and we were returning to the Stygian Abyss and touching on a lot of the plot lines and characters. It's definitely created so that if you've never played Ultima Underworld before, you can pick it up and enjoy it, but there's a lot of fun references. So fans of the original game will find a lot to dig into, and new fans will be able to pick it up right away. Within Underworld Ascendant, you face an incomprehensible challenge. You are up against this primordial nightmare Typhon, who is a early nemesis of Zeus. If he wakes, he will wipe out creation. So within the game, you are working to you have to really come up with new ways of thinking. It's not an enemy that's going to be vanquished with a sword. It requires you to really endeavor to create a new mythical archetype, the Ascendant, a character that combines clever problem solving and adaptability, and really bring the entire underworld together against this foe. It's a little similar to the Avatar for the Ultima series, but with our own take on it. The player is able to mix and match skills and abilities from multiple different trees, combat, stealth, magic, and more, but there's no character classes per se. They can mix and match however they like. There's really no right way to play Underworld Ascendant. It's completely your way, and we find that everyone plays it a little differently. We said early on that we want you to come up with solutions that we hadn't thought of before, and every time we bring in new people to play the game, we see that. We saw it at PAX East, we saw it at PAX South, we've seen it with having external testers come in. Just there's a really rich interactive world that's been set up by our lead engineer, Will Texera, and lead designer, Tim Stelmach, who is the lead designer on Thief. And it's a really amazing interactive world where if you wonder if you can pull something off, you can. There's a number of logic-based systems so that wooden doors can be broken down or burned, but it might attract attention. Traps are physics-based, so can be blocked by heavy objects. Physical properties, they really matter in the game. Everything is meant to make sense. We reward you for creativity, so we are really trying to push and inspire you to come up with just wild, interesting solutions.
The look of the game is really inspired by miniatures, and in some respects it's neat when you look back at the history of the Underworld franchise. Paul and Warren were avid D&D players back in the 80s and 90s, and that was the inspiration for the original series. And miniatures are obviously a big part of playing D&D, so we felt like that was a good inspiration to bring the franchise forward. And in fact, some of the artists have sculpted models, walls, crates, and things like that out of clay to really help nail that look and feel.
Our team is comprised of a lot of folks from Looking Glass and from Irrational. Myself, I was one of the writers on BioShock Infinite. We're also borrowing a few level designers from Fulbright, folks who worked on Tacoma and Gone Home and BioShock 2. So it's all just one big immersive sim family, pretty much.
Underworld Ascendant will be coming out second half of this year. You can find us on Steam already, and also go to underworldascendant.com to find out more information about it.
The future calls. We must make ready to meet it.
Guys, we just learned that Dave Filoni was on stage to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Star Wars: The Clone Wars at San Diego Comic-Con. They had a big panel to celebrate the successes of that incredible animated series. And one of the cool things that they announced is that they are bringing it back. That's right, The Clone Wars is coming back with new episodes, and they have a new trailer for us to take a look at. So what we're going to do is a little live reaction for you. I haven't seen this. I don't know what's in it. But it's coming to the Star Wars or the Disney streaming service first, and then it will probably be in a bunch of different formats and channels and stuff after that. But let's take a look at Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the official trailer, and we can all watch it together. How does that sound? I like that logo.
The name's Rex. You'll call me Captain or Sir.
That's awesome.
War does not come with a guarantee. No soldier gets the promise of safety.
My designation is Trooper 27-5555, sir.
We call him Fives. I'm Heavy. This is Echo. I'm Commander Cody, your new boss.
Sir, yes, sir!
Looks like we got ourselves a batch of shinies, Commander. Look around. We're one and the same. Same heart, same blood. Your training is in your blood. And my blood's boiling for a fight. So this is our home. Any idea what you've done? This is our war.
This can't be good. We need to pull back. Get them to follow us. If we can draw them out,
They got clones forever.
we can see them, we can head them.
And I think it's just that one guy that does all the voices. Whoa. Oh, man. I got some chills right there. Oh, wow. They always did a great job with the huge epic battle sequences in the show. That's what the CG animation could do. Whoa. Oh, man.
All right, Rex. What's so important that you brought us all the way back here?
And there's Ahsoka. Oh my god.
Hello, Master. It's been a while.
Oh wow. Holy crap. That is epic. Oh my god. And clearly this is a response to the you know, the backlash that happened when they had to take the show off the air and they focused everything on Rebels. But now I guess this leaves a hole, and this is Tyler Fisher, by the way, in his beautiful blue EPN shirt. I love that, brother. That looks so good. But clearly they're trying to make amends, and they have a whole bunch of new opportunities with this streaming service. And I think you always have to think about all of the other tendrils that are going to come out of the Star Wars lore by bringing the Clone Wars back. I think that they are suddenly opening the door to a lot more Obi-Wan storytelling and looping it in with that inevitable and eventual Obi-Wan movie, potential trilogy. But one of the best things that the Clone Wars did, and I think you can all agree with me, is legitimized a lot of the sort of opening ideas and concepts that Lucas had with 1, 2, and 3. You know, there were cool bits in those movies. You can have issues with them, as most of us do, But there were cool ideas in 1, 2, and 3, and what Clone Wars did is they lifted on those concepts and made things a lot slicker, a lot better, and that is all thanks to Dave Filoni and his incredible team. I know that Sam Witwer is going to be overjoyed that this is happening, and I know, probably not just because he's going to be a part of it in some way, I would imagine, but he's this huge Star Wars fan, and he and I went back and forth about the Clone Wars. I remember Marissa Roberto and I reviewed the Clone Wars. I think they were starting to hit Netflix or something happened, but we looked at all of those episodes, and God, they're incredible and so artful, and so much great lore came out of that it was kind of tragic when the rug was pulled out from under the production team, and they went on to make Rebels, which didn't start out super strong. It didn't start out as strong as the Clone Wars was, but then eventually, because Filoni was still running the show, it ended up being an incredible series as well. And of course, we've got the new Filoni work that's coming. We don't know much about that, but Clone Wars, can't wait. That's very, very good news. And if you haven't seen any of the Clone Wars stuff, you can watch them on Netflix for the foreseeable future. Who knows what's going to happen when Disney says, yeah, okay, click. But yeah, incredible show, and Rebels is also. Yeah, congratulations to everybody involved on the Clone Wars and, on building up this Disney streaming stuff. Exciting days, man. Very, very cool. All right, and it is time for us to take a look at speaking of Netflix, at a review of a movie called How It Ends.
What was that?
Well, something's wrong.
Sam.
Watched a dystopian sci-fi thriller on Netflix the other day. It's called How It Ends, and it stars Forrest Whitaker and Theo James, and Grace Dove is another one of the stars. It's directed by David M. Rosenthal, and this is another one of those end-of-the-world type experiences, and it starts off in Chicago, and we see this young couple kind of celebrating the idea that they're going to have a baby, and then there's a dinner with Dad, played by Forrest Whitaker, that doesn't go so well, and then all kinds of hell starts to break loose. We see the connection disrupted between the FaceTime chat that's happening between Theo and his wife, and all of a sudden it feels like the end of the world is happening. Flights get canceled, and everybody's kind of trying to figure out how they're going to get to where they got to go, and cars almost get hijacked by people with weapons. And then Theo James finds his way back to Forrest Whitaker, and they basically go on a road trip to go and find Theo James's wife, who is in Seattle, and there's a lot of hell breaking loose from out west, and so these guys get into a car, and then they drive, and they pass all kinds of military folks that sort of say, no, you can't go this way, it's only residents only. They find some corrupt police folks along the way, and people, it's like the typical scenario. It's the people are the worst when all hell breaks loose. It's not so much that you have to fear the natural sort of things that are happening or the unnatural things that are happening. It's how you have to deal with the people and how they're going to react to it. And so there's lots of these conflicts along the way on this pretty solidly built road experience. And that's the most impressive part of this movie, is that it does actually take us on a bit of a ride. We go and we see these different parts of America. It looks like they shot some pretty cool establishing pieces in Chicago, and most of the cinematography is pretty solid. And then also what I was impressed with is that they didn't really scrimp on the effects that are in this movie. They don't overdo it, and we don't see tons of it, and it doesn't feel like it's a $200 million end of the world, blockbuster kind of deal. It's not San Andreas, but there are some pretty elaborate and cool looking special effects in this, and there are also some pretty long stretches of us sort of taking this road trip, and I thought that was cool. Along the way, they meet up with Grace Dove, who plays this mechanic that helps them fix their car, and then she goes along because Forrest Whitaker smartly says, look, let's bring this mechanic in case there's any problems along the way. And of course, there are some big confrontations, and people get hurt, and people get killed, and that's about as much of the movie as I'm going to spoil.
I only have one question for you. Are you coming with me?
I think one of the tough things with a movie of this scale is figuring out how to end it, and the ambiguous kind of nature of the way that this thing ends is not satisfying at all. So you get to this big conclusion, and you start to unravel the mysteries, because that's another thing that Rosenthal has really done here, is he doesn't really reveal too much about why this is happening, and you're kind of left to your own devices to kind of imagine what the worst case scenario is. We're hearing reports of earthquakes, and there's electronic interference, and we see fighter jets and tanks and stuff like that racing to areas, but we don't really know what the hell is going on. And I like that. I like that the mystery is kind of, presented like that. It almost brought back memories of Spielberg's mostly incredible War of the Worlds movie, but this is definitely not at that scale, so don't get me wrong there.
1, 2, 3.
I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't love this movie. I didn't think that it was utter trash. I don't think that this is a disposable experience on Netflix. And some of the movies do tend to be. But again, it is an underwhelming conclusion, and that really kind of leaves you going meh at the end of it, which is too bad, because there's some solid work in the first couple of acts of this film, and I applaud this. Like when you talk about the end of the world, we saw movies like Signs, which did it so poorly, and I'm a fan of M. Night Shyamalan, but Signs was a really ineffective piece of movie making, because they talk about this massive world-changing event, and they kept it tiny and they kept it small, and every time you in the audience are thinking, well, they got the budget to build something big here. Why didn't they go off and show us? You can't just run newsreel footage. You got to show us some stuff. And I was surprised that we do get to see that. We do get to see towns devastated. We do get to see carnage on roadways. I don't think it's to the scale of something like The Walking Dead, which has episode after episode to kind of just enhance the vision of its dystopian nightmare. But it's surprisingly well handled, that idea of this massive destruction in the 90 minutes that this movie has to play with. So I give kudos to the filmmakers for that, and to Netflix for ponying up the money in one way or another to make sure that happened. I didn't hate this movie. I think it's all right. I'm going to give How It Ends a 6 out of 10. Yeah, I don't know if, in this age of so many different things for us to enjoy, if How It Ends is worth your time, but I didn't regret watching that movie. Grace Dove, who I talked about in the review, is actually one of the speakers at TEDx Vancouver this year, and I've met her before. She's great, and I can't wait to see what she's going to talk about when she's on stage. But I'm hosting TEDx Vancouver this year, which is an unbelievable honor. I can't wait to spend the day with people that come to the show, and to hear all of the speakers talk. One of them is Moses Neimer, who is the founder of Chum and Much Music in Canada, and a hero of mine in media, at least, and very excited to see what he talks about out there. But anyways, it's time for Let's Play and Chat, and today we've got a game called MotherGunship, which Grip Digital is responsible for, and also another studio called, what was it? Terrible Posture Games, which is an excellent name for a game company. MotherGunship is a run and gun, bullet hell kind of shooter, and we're going to give it a shot right now. Blake Siefkin is going to come up and join us, and we're going to follow along. It's called Let's Play and Chat, because we want you to chat with us. If you've got comments or questions or anything you want to talk about in the stream, let us know. Chat room is filled with incredible people like Taz. Cranky Puss is going to come up and join us any second now. He just needs to hear it. So here we go. We're going to get into it right now. We're loading a little MotherGunship, and let's see how this goes. I remember digging Tower of Guns. It was exactly that. It was just weapon after weapon after weapon. It was insanity, and it was pretty fun. All right, and we will follow along right now. Vic, do you like Uncharted Lost Legacy? Too Sexy Travis Savage says, I did enjoy it, for sure. It was very beautiful. But it also felt very familiar, and it didn't feel like it opened up enough for me. There's a huge open world element in it, but yeah, I think that was one of the things that I kind of missed, is I wanted an open world Uncharted game. Okay, so this is a game really about running and gunning and simplifying everything. And we make sure that you can hear me and you can hear the game okay. and we can adjust some levels right now if we need to. But we got a big problem here, Blake.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, there's no way to invert this thing.
Oh, we didn't figure out how to invert?
No.
Uh-oh.
And it gets, it's an indie game, right? So it's not like AAA budget or anything like that, but I think we're...
So you can't invert the
no,
controls?
so yeah, this is gonna make people barf. I think...
well, it's gonna make you barf.
It's really hard to play when I can't invert the controls. Here, you play.
Okay.
So Blake is going to play today because I don't want to make you barf. Do you want to hear it? It's a lot of explosions and stuff.
Just put it in one of my ears.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, what am I doing? I'm killing these guns?
Just punch them, and I think you'll get guns eventually. I play inverted, Jordan Cunningham. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm like 33 years old, so I've been playing games for a long time. And
oh, you're only 2 years older than me.
And I think it was GoldenEye that actually trained me to play inverted, and then Halo I played inverted as well, and I just got used to it. So yes, I do play inverted. Colin McDonald, question, Vic, which show do you like better, Rebels or Clone Wars? I like Clone Wars more, and I think it's mostly because of the out of nowhere innovation, but I haven't watched all of the Rebels. I've got a bunch of episodes on collected on Blu-ray, and I need to do that. And I think what I want to do is get them all now because they've concluded the show, and then do a review, like a full review of Rebels, and maybe do a versus between the two. I would love to go back and watch some of the Clone Wars episodes again. Just incredibly ingenious storytelling in a universe, a galaxy that we know so well. And I just am so appreciative of the talents of Dave Filoni. And I have to tell you something, like I sat on a lot of panels at Star Wars Celebration last year, and I don't know if there was more passion on display for Star Wars than in the Dave Filoni Rebels panel, where he announced that it was going to be the last season and stuff. And it was just incredible. Like, it was an amazing Star Wars Celebration because it was the first one after Carrie Fisher died, and I sat in with Mark Hamill's panel where he basically had a memorial kind of talk around Carrie Fisher, and it was beautiful, and I was crying and getting all hot. I was by myself too, and I was just surrounded by people, and I was just like, it was a heavy day. But it was really great, it was really great, and I loved Dave Filoni's talk. Good question, though. A Fat Chimp question, would be awesome to have an EPN hangout at a park or something. Yeah, guys, I'm working on something that would allow us to hang out a lot more often. So in real life, IRL. So keep your fingers crossed. The stuff that we did at EXP this year for our E3 streams was kind of a little bit of a test. It was kind of like a beta for how we could create content in, is it chugging?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
Speaking of GoldenEye, this game has a lot of loading.
Does it? Yeah.
It's very retro.
So let's table that question. A Fat Chimp, it's a good one. And let's see what happens. Question, should I officially link the Discord today? It is pretty much ready. Blade Blur, go for it. I don't think there's any harm to doing it, right? I mean, the only thing I want to do is I want to create a channel within the Discord for all of the sponsors of EPN, because I feel like we should have our own, I like this, I think it's Timberwolf saying EPNgers assemble. I kind of dig that. I think that's pretty cute. And we had the Electric Posse, I think, was dropped the other day, but I feel like we need a little group with people that are the sponsors. It sucks that YouTube has made our lives very simple for the collection of all of our content. I wish we could have a little bit more customizable options with the way it's served up on our pages. But the thing that I don't like the most about YouTube is that it's not really built around community, and I guess that's what Twitch really has in its favor, is that it's kind of a community site first that also deals with a lot of streaming video, but it's not a great aggregator of tons of pre-cut and pre-assembled video content, which is our main source of content, is all the pre-assembled stuff, although the live stuff is becoming much more important for us now and into the future. So not any one of them is perfect, and I think that is why Discord has been able to come up and sort of work with creators across both streams. But the one thing that's very important to me is that we have some kind of way to connect with everybody that's supporting us on on a regular basis with the sponsorships. It's amazing.
Did we intro this game? Like, did we explain what it is?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is from the people who made Tower of Guns.
Yeah, I said all that.
Yeah. It's a procedurally
you don't listen to me. You just drowned me out.
Well, I was listening to the.
Oh, okay. It's procedurally generated. I did not say that. Okay, that's good.
Yeah. So this is all like random.
Yes.
Metroidvania.
Yes.
I have 2 guns. It's like GoldenEye. You can dual wield.
Yep. What's the best thing to happen in gaming this year from Patrick Furtado? That's a great question. Best thing to happen in gaming this year? I think God of War, if I'm just off the top of my head thinking about it. I think that a game that...
Does that mean game or in the industry as a whole?
Well, two things, right? Right now, out of all of the stories that I have seen, and the shows, Audrey Leon's in the chat talking about how incredible Glow Season 2 is, and it is. We all loved Avengers Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp was cool, Black Panther. But of all of the stories and the content that I've consumed in 2018, God of War is still the best. It's still the best storytelling that I've seen. And for a studio to take the risk on turning an action game, this looks fun, into a really thoughtful and beautifully constructed and orchestrated story like God of War is very, very important and profound and a tremendous accomplishment and not easy to do. That reinvention that happened with God of War, I think, is one of the most important things, or one of the most joyous things about video games so far in this year. And I would point to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild as the most important thing that happened in games of 2017. But great question. Plus, Christopher Judge is goddamn legendary, Tyler Fisher says. Yes, he is the perfect Kratos, especially the perfect older Kratos. He had so much nuance and weight. You could feel his pain. It was wonderful. God, it's an amazing game. And my regret about God of War is I've finished the story, and so it feels like when I play it, and I still get sucked in. I haven't done every single thing you can do in the game, but every time I play it, I feel guilt that I'm back in this world, just kind of, not spinning my wheels, but I've reviewed it. I'm supposed to play all the new stuff, and I almost wish I could erase my memory of the game. I shouldn't wish for that too much as I get older, but I would almost like to go back to it and see it as a fresh new thing.
Wouldn't it be nice to have one of those Men in Black memory wipers?
For certain things, yeah,
just
for certain
erase
things,
the memory
for sure.
of that specific game or movie and then just watch it again for the first time.
Yes. Blade Blur says, if you are a sponsor, let me know via DM if your Discord name is different from your YouTube name, and I'll give you the coveted sponsor spot on Discord. Blade Blur, you are the sweetest man. Thank you so much. Colin McDonald, Vic, did you buy the collector's edition for the new Spider-Man PS4 game? I tried to look for it, but it sold out so fast, Colin McDonald. No, I didn't buy the collector's edition. I'm expecting that, PlayStation, I've worked with covering their stuff since '95, so I feel like they'll probably send me a code. It would be amazing if, our friends at Insomniac or PlayStation said, look, we want to send EPN a collector's edition. We would definitely show it off. But because I get the codes and the software, not always the collector's editions, and it's totally cool because I've had many, many years of getting lots and lots of things, so I never ask for, people to go out of their way to treat us with all that stuff. But I expect I'll get the software to review, so I did not buy it. But I can't wait. It's definitely one that I've hovered over going, do I want to do that? But I've been doing this for a long time, guys, so I have a lot of collector's editions and a lot of cool statues and figures and things like that, and I try to show them off in the shows as much as we possibly can, but I have a lot of stuff.
Did I kill this thing?
I'm just mostly excited to play the freaking game. I cannot wait. Let's see, we have... still have many months to go. Ask that at the end of the year for that. Somebody's asking about the best game of the year. Oh, what's the worst thing to happen in gaming this year? Yeah, I think that's what Faramer is bringing up with regards to Patrick Furtado's question there. Johnny McFly asking, do you have any thoughts or hopes for Red Dead 2 Online? I just want that same level of inventiveness that we have with with Grand Theft Auto Online. I want to be surprised by it. I don't think that Red Dead has as much malleability. It doesn't. You can't just throw anything at that game and make it make sense. There's a narrative sort of anchor that needs to be satisfied. And I mean, they did an amazing job with Undead Nightmare. That was awesome. So maybe we get a zombies kind of element in the online portion of Red Dead 2. But I just don't want there to be this sense of parody around the storytelling, because I think anybody that beat the first game will kind of back me up on this.
Oh, here's where I'm supposed to go.
The weight of that narrative, of that storytelling in Red Dead 1 was unbelievable, and incredibly surprising. In a game rife with surprises and filled with so many indelible characters, by the time you reach its conclusion, you are kind of in shock at its maturity and its brilliance, and I want that again with Red Dead 2. And obviously they have much better rendering opportunities and the learnings from every previous title that they've done that they can attach to this. So the nuance of the characters and the story is probably going to blow us away. So when they go into the online stuff, I don't want all that stuff to be just wiped off the table. You know what I'm saying?
This game is awesome, Vic.
Is it cool?
I'm enjoying this quite a bit.
Yeah, it looks really rad. That's fantastic. Jordan Cunningham, I'm 30 years old and I switched to non-inverted since I played Brute Force, Red Faction, and Halo, the Halo's Collector's Edition. Yeah, I know some people can do the switch over. And I tell you, when I fly around in Lego games, when there's flying characters, I don't invert because I use the right thumbstick to bring me down to ground level and fly. So it's a bit weird, and I feel like certain games have different kinds of control schemes that I use. So, but for the most part in shooters, I'm pretty inverted.
That's the Mother-Gunship.
Oh, that's great.
That big ship out there.
That's fantastic.
So we got to destroy that because it's threatening Earth.
Okay, very cool. Tiago Santos, what do you miss most from the old EP show, and what would you like to first incorporate into the new show? I miss having people. I miss having
other employees.
Yeah, other people that we can throw to and we can get their points of view. I definitely miss the ability to go off and review on the run with another person. I've really enjoyed the challenge of doing it alone. It's been cool for me to kind of get better at, because I shoot everything too when I'm out on the field doing a lot of these things with our camera, and I use my phone. And actually, what's funny about the How It Ends review, on that day, I use my phone connected to the camera, and I can see that I'm in focus and stuff, and I press record. But on that day, it was the first day in my history of shooting reviews on the run where my phone said, "It's too frickin' hot," and it crapped out on me and said, "Well, the iPhone is not available until it stops being this hot." And that was remarkable for me. But I dig the process that we're doing it now. I love EP Live. I think this is absolutely the perfect show for us to be making in 2018 and beyond, because it allows us to, interact with you as we're getting into this, Oh, somebody said Combat Evolved, not Collector's Edition. That's funny. My bad. CE can mean a lot of things.
Yeah, it hasn't been called. Nobody calls it Combat Evolved.
Yes.
Just call it Halo.
Yes. But I do miss the ability to collaborate with another host, and obviously, Blake is putting a lot of content together and assembling the show and editing while I'm off shooting or playing these things or whatever. I edit every once in a while, but Blake is really doing the bulk of that and all the writing and stuff too. So he's really kind of anchored to the
This Blake
computers.
guy sounds like he does a lot.
He's very talented, this guy. Yeah, he knows what's going on.
He doesn't know how to get out of this hub world.
That's okay. That's where I would be right now anyways. Yeah. And so I can't really say, okay, let's go out and shoot something, or you shoot me, or what, I miss, the amount of team that we had, but I don't know if that makes sense now in this sort of media age. So I think if I could do anything, is I would augment EP Live with a few more people here in the studio and a few more teams of a couple of people in different cities, so we could constantly get the bounce of perspectives, because the thing that I'm proudest of is the amazing group of people that I was able to kind of bring together, and we built something ahead of its time, and something that I can't see easily replicated by any other production entity out there, because the people that I put in front of the camera, behind the camera, were just freaking gung-ho to do what we were doing. And we worked our butts off to kind of build something very special. And it blows me away that I see lots of other people that have opportunities with either lots of financial backing or lots of resources at their disposal, and they kind of squander it. They don't build something that resonates the way that we were able to do. The thing that we did is we broke through the sort of, I don't know, the ceiling of interest in this space. We got into mainstream.
Our mission statement was always to make it accessible.
We made it accessible.
Like, especially when we went daily.
Yes.
Like, never assume that the audience knows what we're talking about. Always make it, not dumb it down, but make it as make it so that your mom can watch it and know what's going on.
But also build it so we know that our audience is incredibly intelligent,
yes,
and they know, and this is how they consume. Like, we're trying to keep up with the consumption habits that we as everyday consumers are into, you know, and we're watching stuff on our cell phones, we go to movies, we play games everywhere. And so we did that, and we cracked through, and we got onto mainstream television stations and rated well. And so I'm incredibly proud of that. So if I could do the ultimate show today, it would be EP Live with a little bit more of that EP Daily kind of production sauce that we have. But not overboard, because these are different days for media, you know? So not spend too much and get too big, and because I think the days of people having just one task on a show are kind of over. You kind of have to be able to do a bunch of things, right?
Yeah.
Got to be able to be in front of the camera, behind the camera, edit, write, do some graphic stuff, a little bit of everything. So that was a long answer to a good question. Nintendo Boy 17 reviews on the run. Judgment Day was the Siskel and Ebert of video games. I remember when Vic and Scott were parroting them. Thank you so much, Nintendo Boy 17. Siskel and Ebert and Entertainment Tonight were in my pitch document. It was the 3-pager that I met with all kinds of video game companies about to bring them in as sponsors and supporters of the content. And I met with tons of broadcasters, and it was a very easy format to kind of explain. I wanted to bring the objective opinions and reviews of Siskel and Ebert and butt it against a news magazine that went behind the scenes, like Entertainment Tonight used to do, until they kind of focused all of their stuff on reality TV stars. But and Entertainment Tonight used to be a great show. It used to be about the nuts and bolts of the movie business and the TV industry, and then it became very much a show that was, you know, following the gossipy stuff that was going on.
Hang on, I just want to point out, like, this game has a portal type element where you run through these things and
you bounce up there.
There's a part before where I was doing a lot of that. So.
Yeah, this looks like
it's a nice, and there's some Half-Life style sort of platforming.
And lots of Doom. And it looks like an elevation on what Tower of Guns was.
Yeah.
So thank you. That's a very good comment, Nintendo Boy. That was the idea from the beginning. Question: are you interested in playing Dead Cells on the Switch? I am so excited. Foobs, Jose, talks about Dead Cells every time I see him. I've not touched it because it's been in early access, and I don't really have tons of time to play beta stuff and early access and demo stuff, but I've heard it's amazing. I cannot wait. Tyler Fisher, we missed Tommy's odd review scale, 6.2, because not quite a 6, not quite a 6.5. Yeah, he was really granular and very much kind of lifting, I think EGM used to scale like that. And we got the note, I think, when we were with Discovery Science, season 6. Can Tommy just go to the 0.5 scale like you, Vic? Because I was always pretty steadfast that it's either 6.5 or it's an even number. And then so it's like I talked with Tommy. He's like, the network's really thinking that we should just go to the 0.5, and he's like, okay, all right. He relented.
I just met a talking frog.
Oh, cool, fantastic.
So it's very Star Fox.
So I'm
having a good time.
You're having one of the best days of your life.
The only thing
right
I would
here.
complain about this game so far is the loading. There's a lot of loading,
yeah.
And it stutters a bit too every once in a while.
Yeah.
Like the frame rate goes down.
I don't think this is fully complete yet.
And also the crafting is a little counterintuitive.
Right.
I'm a little confused.
You're already crafting?
Yeah. You have to craft all your guns. I think I crafted not a good gun combination.
Cool.
And it's hard to figure out what the good.
Feels like ARMS a little bit.
Yeah.
ARMS as a shooter. Question from Johnny McFly. Have you ever met Kevin Conroy? I asked because he's always been my favorite Batman, and I finally got to meet him. Who is yours? He is the best sounding Batman, 100%. He's incredible, and I've met Kevin a few times. He actually did It's not on my phone anymore. I used to have a U.S. number because I was down there all the time, and when I was shooting an interview with him one time, I got him to record my voicemail message. Hi, this is Batman. It was amazing. And then I lost that number, so I lost that message.
Did we interview him when we did Bruce Timm and Andrea Romano at like 2015 with Marissa? You and Marissa and me were there.
I'm sure we did.
I'm not sure if Kevin Conroy was there.
Well, we did the making of. We've met him for a few different things over the years, but we did the making of Batman Arkham Asylum. And so we spent a lot of time with him in the sound room being Batman, and also with Mark Hamill, and got great interviews, and he was amazing. But then we've met him on the red carpets and stuff at Comic-Con and stuff when he's done his characters, and we've interviewed him about that. But one of my greatest honors is I got to host the panel for Assault on Arkham, the animated movie that Warner Brothers made, and Kevin was in the movie. Lots of other great actors were in the film, and we all went out for dinner afterwards. And I sat beside Kevin, and we just talked for the whole night, and
Okay, Vic,
it was incredible.
And
he's an amazing guy.
Maybe you can figure this out. What
Yeah.
am I doing wrong?
Where's your currency?
I don't know.
Add the part. Attach part.
Yeah, I was doing that before and nothing was happening.
Boom. Finish
Okay,
crafting.
did I just-
B.
Okay. Well,
You didn't finish.
that's what I was doing. I guess I just didn't have the right parts.
There you go. You got it.
But now I'm pressing it and nothing happens. I think I crafted it wrong.
Okay.
Like it's not shooting. It's
I
not
can't.
doing
I can't
anything.
help you because I'm answering the people.
Okay.
You got to figure it out, brother.
Okay.
Ryan Landis, question: did you ever have an interview that you thought was a disaster? Yeah, I've had those over the years for sure. I'm pretty good at salvaging stuff and finding a common ground. I'll tell you, Scott Kahn was a asshole.
Who's that?
He's in Hawaii Five-0. He just had such a crappy attitude. I met him at Sundance, and this was pre-Hawaii Five-0, so it's like, who are you? Not that I ever pull that on anybody, but we usually have everybody saying, look, we'd love to talk with you, and because everybody plays video games, and it's a very safe meeting point to have discussions. So we've had lots of success with tons of actors and directors and lots of other people. We talk about their projects, but we've also had lots of great conversations sort of centered around their love of gadgets or games or whatever. And Scott Kahn was just the one guy that I remember who was just a total douchebag, and it was shocking. I was like, what kind of attitude are you giving us? This is so nuts. But I don't like to talk out of turn and gossip too much like that.
Should we talk about our Frank Miller story?
Oh, that he was...
Should we talk about that story, Vic?
No.
Okay.
No.
He's kind of turned into a racist old jerk, so maybe...
Yeah, he's laying out some hardline ideas out there for sure. But he's so brilliant.
Yeah. We like Frank Miller, but we have a Frank Miller story that, I guess we're not going to get into.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to turn this into gossipy stuff. But I've had some interviews that have gone poorly. It shocks me when people, and I've had a few people, just a few. So it doesn't usually happen. And I've had a few people just say, no, we don't want to do an interview. And it kind of breaks my heart. Like there was an indie developer that we were going to put them on camera and get their story about their game, and they said, no, we don't really want that. And I think it came out of shyness or feeling like we were going to be a cheeseball, TV source or something like that was going to completely turn it into some anti-video game story, which is so pathetic. I mean, how many traditional news stories have we seen where they just kind of make fun of people that make video games or condescend to them or whatever. And I don't know what the reason was, but yeah, it always kind of breaks my heart because all we want to do is show people's creativity and I think of it as, I made this analogy when I was talking with somebody about what we do, but it's almost like we talk to these Don Quixotes, these crazy people that work with these impossible technologies to build something that will entertain us, and they're just like hunting those windmills. They're going after them. They're going to do it. And it's so hard to do this stuff, and that's all I want to do is put these people in front of the camera and talk about their work with a sense of respect. It boggles my mind when people don't want to do that or can't see that that's where we're coming from. Tyler Fisher, I know you've discussed cost issues, so RTX 2018 is out of the question, but would you ever consider trying to get out there to RTX 2019 or beyond? I don't know the Rooster Teeth folks. I want to know them. I want to meet them. And Greg Miller has said he's going to introduce me to some of the people over there. So I feel like there could be some common ground and some stuff that we could collaborate on. So maybe one day. I would love that. I think that would be really cool. The Fix podcast. Hey, Vic and Blake, have you had a chance to watch the new Robin Williams documentary? Yes, and a review is forthcoming. I won't spoil it. Remember when Arnold Schwarzenegger tried to get mature rated games treated like pornography, Jordan Cunningham? Yeah, I think people come at games from a sense of ignorance. And, it's if you don't know what kind of content is being made or how it connects with people on an emotional level, or if you're just frightened of it, it's very easy to demonize this stuff, just like it always has been. And I've had this discussion with so many people over the years about the violence in games and the addictive qualities of video games, and mature concepts being utilized to propel a story forward that are maybe marketed to people that are too young to appreciate them. And one of my common discussion points is like, look, we've had really heavy, mature stories since the days of Oedipus, and the stories that were meant to kind of teach us morality, that were heavy about sons killing their fathers and going to war with people and tasked with just awful things. And we've all survived those stories, and they've been the pillars of so many different variations of those stories over the years, and you can point at more modern storytelling, like what Scorsese has been able to do with his crime fiction. And
I think I have a better gun combination now there.
There you go.
I think this is the way to do it.
Awesome.
I have a lava gun and a gun.
So games are just a chunk of that, and when you talk about mature games and they dip into that dark fantasy stuff that's in there, that exists in our minds, and we need to explore it. It needs to be a part of our storytelling diet. Or you can choose to not go in that space and still find lots of engagement and entertainment out of video games. There's lots and lots of ways in, I'm telling you guys, you all know this, but it is shocking when people try to turn games into any kind of a scapegoat. They're just a new form of communication. It's definitely there are addictive qualities, and definitely it's potentially more compelling and more consuming than a lot of other media out there. And maybe some of the entertainment is structured in a way that just goes on a little too long, for sure. But in terms of narrative and storytelling and rewards and community and engagement, it's hard to beat video games. That's why, I've been doing this for 25 years, and I don't see an end in sight. I love it, and I love games more than I did when I started. And what's amazing is now we have history in this business, and we can look back at some of that early stuff and still be as blown away by the imagination that these early developers had back then, and the lessons that they taught everybody, Anyways, let's see what we got in here. Johnny McFly, what do I think Rocksteady is up to? I think they're working on a Justice League game. I don't think that they're working just on a Superman game. That's what I think, but I'd be happy with either.
And if they need a documentary made, call us.
Yes, absolutely. I'd love to go back.
Rocksteady, call us.
Those guys rock. The Discord server is starting to blow up. That is awesome. I guess we're going to have to do the chats on Discord at some point here. Hashtag fuck Batman from Happy Console Gamer.
Fuck Batman.
It's getting late. I've actually got a meeting that I have to get going to, guys.
Okay, are we gonna end the
MotherGunship? Yeah, I think so. Yes. This was awesome.
This game is really good.
We had a lot to get into today.
I'm thoroughly enjoying this, and I'm Cranky Puss. So
Fantastic.
If I like this, it's doing something right.
I'm going to bug the devs to put in an invert, and then I'll review it when I do. One of my next reviews that's going to be coming is Tempest 4000. I've stuck a bunch of time into that game, so expect a review for that very soon. I'm going to be playing a lot more of the Danger Zone 2, and I'm playing that sushi game that Nintendo published on the Switch as well. I've got a bunch on my batting order in there. Lots of stuff coming up. And of course, Mission Impossible comes out next week. Johnny and I are going to go off and see that on Monday, so we'll have a review of Mission Impossible Fallout for you guys next week. But we're coming back tomorrow with another EP Live. And we'll figure out what that one's going to be about after we're wrapped up on this one. We've got tons of content for you to check out, so please dive through all of our videos on our YouTube channel and watch some of that stuff. If you dig it, hit subscribe, hit that little bell. If you're so inclined, there's a sponsor button that you can hit as well. And remember, everybody, thanks for watching, and play forever.